Perfect. All right, everybody. Happy hot last day of July, Friday. We're finishing off July with no other but the beautiful and straight up badass Miss Whitney Jones. Whitney is an IFBB pro, 2 times Miss Olympia, and she's going for the third this coming December.
Oh, yeah.
A business owner of Pro Physiques Gym in Arizona, and also a mother of 2. 2 fun facts about Whitney is that she loves Christmas so much. From the last interview, I remember that you keep your Christmas tree around the house all year long, which is amazing to keep that Christmas cheer. And despite of how lean she is, she loves her some Oreos.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Every day. Got to eat them. It's part of my diet.
I love it. Okay, so what is your favorite Oreo? And for those of you guys listening, if you love Oreos, drop in the comments. What's your favorite Oreo?
Oh, man. So mine right now is the caramel coconut. Obviously, with all the limited edition flavors out, there's so many, but that tastes like the Girl Scout cookie, the Samoas, and they are so bomb. So that's my current go-to. I just actually finished the package yesterday. So I got to get another one.
I love it. I love it. It's the concept of harmonization. I love it. So everybody, let's give Whitney a really warm Erin and Sarit welcome, and drop in the comments all the warm welcomes, where you guys are from. Let Whitney know where y'all from and where you represent. And do we have anybody from Arizona in the house? I wonder.
They're probably trying to like cool themselves off. It's so freaking hot here right now.
Houston, Texas, Iowa. Oh, Lauren's wife is from Arizona.
I love it. Look at all these people everywhere. Wow.
Amazing. Whitney, we're going to have more people jumping in. In fact, last week when I was interviewing another guest, I was thinking about it. I'm like, I need to have a conversation with these girls because most of them hop in at 6:30.
Oh.
But that's because we do the show at 6:30, except for Fridays for the guest interview. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense, but
yeah.
Okay. Well, my love, thank you so much for joining us today. For anybody listening live, thank you so much for joining us, regardless of what time it is. Okay, so quick question for you, because as you know, like, our fitness background is kind of different from yours, though I have massive respect for you, okay? What does the term IFBB Pro mean?
So the acronym, it's International Federation of Bodybuilding. So I'm in this umbrella sport. Now, I don't compete in bodybuilding. There's several different divisions. The division I compete in is called fitness. So sadly, mine's the most generic term, but what that means is we go on stage, we don't flex, we don't do any of that stuff. We have a portion of our routine that's in a blinged out bikini, and you do model poses, just trying to show off your physique. But doing it in a way that's more, I'd say, pageant-ish. And then, so it's kind of like a beauty pageant with muscles. And then my division, the biggest thing that is a differentiation between my division and others is we do a routine. So it's 2 minutes of whatever you want to do performance-wise. I do a lot of breakdancing and b-boy stuff and hip-hop routines. So that's what makes my division totally different than any others, is we're the only ones that have to do this acrobatic, gymnastics, dance-themed routine. And that's where a majority of our scoring is. So yes, they still want you in shape, but they judge our division almost primarily on the actual performance.
Yeah, you guys, I remember when I came to Whitney's gym and she showed us some of her moves, and I was like, whoa. Like, extremely impressive. Okay, so International Federation of Bodybuilding, it's got an umbrella of different categories. You're in the fitness category, okay? So for you, it's not just about looking badass, it's also about performing like a badass, which you 100% do. Now, what is the symbolism of Miss Olympia in the whole umbrella of the bodybuilding world?
So Olympia is like our World Series or our Super Bowl. So for our sport, you have to qualify through a series of shows throughout the year to even qualify to be on the Olympia stage. So it's the number one goal in our division. If you ever actually win that title, you're considered number one in the world. And so, you know, you can win shows here and there, but you to win Olympia is when you actually go down in the record books as being a name in the sport. Just to kind of like simplify it, but that's the ultimate goal. You know, they have the Arnold Classic, which is Arnold Schwarzenegger show, and those are amazing. I've been fortunate enough to do tons of his shows. I've won his shows. But at the end of the day, you always want to be Miss Olympia. Like, that's the ultimate title. So that's what I'm the current Miss Olympia. It's 2 times. So this year I'm going in to defend my title and get that 3-peat.
I love it. I love it. So basically, Miss Olympia is like the Olympics of bodybuilding. It's
Sure.
the most prestigious title. And I actually, I looked up your records, and you guys, like, she literally won like 100 different titles. And if I was to introduce you with all the titles, I think your intro would have lasted for like an hour. But you're like so impressive. Like, she won so many competitions, but like when it came to the Olympics of bodybuilding, she's going for the 3rd in a row, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Amazing. I want to talk a little bit about preparation with regards to that in just a little bit.
Sure.
But when I introduce guests, I really like to understand how did they get to where they got to, because it's cool we're here, but it didn't just happen overnight. It didn't happen by a mistake. So tell us, how did you get introduced to the sport, and what drew you to it?
Well, so I'm a personal trainer. I used to do it kind of on the side because I had a corporate job for years, but I love like training people, getting them in shape. As part of that, I've always been an athlete and I like to be active. So I was doing triathlons and marathons just for fun. But then I kind of found that the endurance type sports wasn't for me. I liked it, but I wanted more of a challenge. So I kind of stumbled upon this sport in general, and I was like, oh, this might be interesting just to kind of see what my physique can do. I lost a ton of muscle in the endurance events and just kind of had that, I didn't have that toned look that I kind of was like, oh, let's dial in my physique. So stumbled upon this and kind of loved the science of seeing what your body's capable of and how nutrition can correlate so well with getting your body full or lean or, you know, whatever your goal was. So I got into this sport just trying to do the figure division, which is based just on your physique, and went and did my first show and then saw these girls in costumes and like performing to like energetic music. And I was like, they look like they're having way more fun. So I didn't know anything about the whole like fitness division, but I was like, I want to do that. So blindly just kind of fell into it. Which I honestly think was the biggest blessing in disguise. I'm a competitive person at heart, but I also like the journey in everything that I do. So being clueless about it, I just put together a routine. I had no idea there were mandatory moves. I found a song, a costume, and I went on stage and did my thing. And it was hilarious because it was so not what the norm was. But I had a blast. And from that moment on, I was hooked. So I started learning about it and understanding the basics that, yeah, there's mandatories. There's certain criteria that helps you place. And then from there, you get to be creative. And I just love the aspect. I love going to the gym. But I like the idea of like, I'd see something on YouTube or Instagram, and it's like my brain works in the way of, that looked cool. I wonder if I can do it. Well, there's only one way to find out. So I love that there was all this ability to advance yourself in regards to skill, because I have no formal gymnastics background. I did dance as a little kid, like ballet and tap and all those silly things. So in reality, this is not a sport that I have a foundation from. but I just loved the ability to kind of sculpt and grow, and you can put whatever you want out there on that stage. So once I did my first fitness show, I was hooked. I loved it, but I never had this goal of, I want to get my pro card and be at the pro level. I want to get to the Olympia stage. Like that was so, yeah, right in my mind, that I was just along for the ride. I was like, this is cool. I ended up getting my pro card and thought, wow, I wonder if that was a mistake, but okay. And then did pro shows and started actually placing, but I just never had these, I never thought I would be good at it because I didn't have the background like everyone else I compete with. They've been gymnasts their whole life. But I think the only thing that worked in my favor is I'm kind of a daredevil and I'll try stuff, and I'm very unconventional. My routines compared to most are totally different, but it's because I can't do those things. So I create Whitney Jones style things, and it's worked well in my favor.
I love it. It's kind of like hip hop meets gymnastics meets total badassery. You said a lot of important things, and I kind of want to touch up on some of them. So if you guys are taking notes, some really crucial things that Whitney talked about are the love for the journey. We live in the 21st century where people expect everything to happen overnight. Right. Now, you hear this from every successful person. Your focus should not be about the end goal. It should always be about embracing the journey. Yes, you want to focus on the end goal, but you have to accept and love the journey in order to get there, because otherwise you will never get there without the journey. And in the fitness industry too, or with weight loss, right? Like people look at the before and afters. It says nothing about the journey, right? Like people look at you, right? They're like, oh my gosh, you look amazing, right? Like they're looking at the end result. There's never really an end result, but you know, they're not looking and analyzing the process. And that's where really all of the learning and, like you said, Whitney, the growth comes from. And also something that's really interesting that you touched upon was the fact that you said, look, I went into it just like out of pure heart and passion. I had no foundation. This is actually a great segue to the next question, because a lot of times I feel like, you know, what you believe is what you end up perceiving, right? And you just went into it with an open mind and an open heart, right? You're like, I just know that I want to have more fun than these girls who are just posing on stage, right? Like it doesn't empower them or anything. I mean, it could for some, but at least in your case, that wasn't the case. So you're like, okay, I'm going to transition myself and I'm going to grow and evolve into something else, even though it requires more. Like, imagine putting together like a dance/gymnastics routine and also prepping your body, right? Like your body is scored by it. Like in CrossFit, for example, people, you know, get scored based off of pure performance, but they don't get scored for how their body looks doing it. In your sport, it does. So it's like taking it to a whole other level, right? And there's so much that goes into it. And you're like, you know what? Like, regardless of what this requires, like, I know that I'm going to feel fulfillment from it. And that's all that matters, right? And you went into it with no foundation whatsoever, and you didn't let that stop you. And I feel like so many times in life, especially nowadays, again, in the 21st century, it's like as we keep on getting more modern and advanced, it's like people become weaker mentally and physically.
Yeah.
Right? And they're like, well, I'm not great at this, so like, why bother, right? Because you're so focused on the before and after instead of the process. But you're just like, okay, I'm committed to the journey. That's it. And whatever comes out of it, amazing. And, you know, I mean, you've done incredible things, right? You're going for the third Miss Olympia in a row. I mean, the title is huge. So now I want to talk a little bit about identity, because this is something that we talk a lot about in our weight loss programs. And like we said before, what you believe is what you end up receiving, right? So if you were to use, I mean, your character is so unique, right? And it's what makes you shine so bright, right? If you were to use 5 words to define you, what would they be?
Oh gosh. Spontaneous, definitely, because that's kind of the way my whole life is, I feel like. But it makes it exciting. Gosh, definitely ambitious, driven ambitious, because every morning it's like I get up and I have ideas of what I want to do, what I want to accomplish. Um, Easily entertained. Laughter is what gets me through my day, with as much craziness that's going on now and just in life, and being a single mom and 2 boys, and I run 5 businesses. There's like constant chaos. So
Five?
yeah, yes. Yeah, so 5, I know. So there's always these crazy moving parts, and when days get like just start going downhill, I have a library on my phone of memes that keep me entertained. So I'm easily entertained. So that's 3. I would say definitely a daredevil, and I don't know. I guess someone who always wants to impact, inspire, or make some emotional connection with others, so it makes me feel like I can give back, because I feel like I've had so many incredible like blessings and experiences in my life that I want everyone else to have those too, which is why I love being a coach and a mentor. So I'd say somebody who just wants to give back and like get everyone to experience a lot of the fun that I've had in my life.
I love that. We're all about vulnerability as well, because we truly believe that strength happens not, when you always look powerful, but when you get vulnerable, you become more powerful. You give yourself permission to, emotionally and mentally become more powerful. Now,
Yeah.
one of the words that you used was basically like generous, right? And to be honest, like that's why you're on the show this morning. I texted you a couple of weeks ago and I'm like, hey, the girls have, they heard your name and they're all about you. Like, would you mind doing another interview? Because the one that we did a couple months ago, like did not get recorded on Zoom. Right. And we want people to really hear your message, because you do have a very special soul, and we appreciate you so much. And immediately, you guys, like, she texted me 2 minutes later and she's like, yeah, absolutely. Like tell me like what, when and where, like, what do you need me to do? And like, you don't normally get it from people. You don't. So for one, Whitney, thank you so much. But for 2, if you wouldn't mind just like opening up to us and tell us like, what was one of those moments, or if you may call it like divine interventions, that like really became a stepping stone in your life, when somebody else helped to either pick you up or propel you forward, or just help you out with something that you really needed help with?
Well, honestly, I'd say there were a few moments. For me, I feel like my whole story is about, it's a comeback, because there were always so many just roadblocks of things that came up, and it's like, no, you can't go on this path. And it's like when you have goals or desires, or you just have passion to follow a certain path, being told no is hard. Like how do you comprehend that? And how are you just supposed to accept that? And that's not my personality. Like I always firmly believe like there's always a way. So I'd say 2 probably most important things when it applies to the sport itself. There was somebody that was always just like, you will never make it in this sport. And what does make it mean? Because maybe I would never be a pro or on the Olympia stage, but that, again, that's not what I was wanting. It was like, I just want to go, I want to have a cool journey. I want to see what my body can do. I want to see what skills I can come up with when I have no experience. And I want to get on stage and do something that's fun. If the judges like it, cool. If they don't, cool. But I want to step on stage and feel like I won. Before I ever do my performance, I want to know I gave this experience and this journey the best that I absolutely could. And I want to prove that I can do it, that maybe I won't be number one, but I'll be somebody. So that to me pushed me. When people try to tell me I can't do something, it lights a fire, just because I want to prove them wrong, to say that's not true. You cannot define what I'm going to accomplish in my life because those are your words or your thoughts. So that always drives me to push harder. And in that, I found that desire to prove it to me too, because there's always that doubt where it's like, oh God, am I going to be able to do it? But it taught me to push that aside. And if you believe in yourself and you have that passion and you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing, or you're putting 100% effort into it, then it can happen. And as long as you're realistic with your expectations, you will not be able to let yourself down. So I'd say that was one. And then the other, I have some heart issues that were discovered, during my second pregnancy. And it was like, as a part of that, the doctors and the cardiologists and electrophysiologists, they said, you're going to need a pacemaker, your active lifestyle, you need to be careful, you're going to be limited in everything that you can do. And, at that time I was 31 years old. And I thought, wow, I'm kind of young for you to tell me I can't do anything, because I still felt okay. Granted, yes, I had heart issues, and that's a kind of an important thing. But that taught me to, again, find a way. You don't have to take one doctor or two doctors' rationale behind it and say, this is my life. So I started finding out ways to work with some of my heart conditions and heart issues, still live my healthy lifestyle, do it within a safety strategy, and make sure I was going to be okay. But that taught me to overcome. And with that, with a lot of things I've done, I've had a lot of injuries. But it's like when your mind is focused on what is it that you can do within your realm. If I'm having a bad heart day, I'm not going to be out there doing my routine or doing a HIIT cardio, but I can also do something that's mentally focused on my goals. If I had an injury, if I had a broken bone, if I tore my ACL, okay, what can I do upper body? I can't jump. I have a torn ACL, but there's a lot of stuff I can do on my hands with skills. There's a lot of stuff I can do in regards to dancing. You got one good leg and two good arms, make it work. So just the fact of overcoming physical obstacles, overcoming mental obstacles, for me, that seems to be kind of my story of going, no, I'll prove you guys wrong. And I'll prove you wrong, but I'll also be doing it, number one, for myself, to prove it to myself that I can do it, because that type of success propels you for your next goal and your next goal. That pride of being like, I did it. Wow. That's what, for me, is what gets me going every single day.
So much gold was dropped. Like, man, I think the ground just shook. That was so incredibly powerful. Thank you so much for opening up and really sharing that. For one, I never, I don't think we ever discussed, what how the doctors have limited you.
Yeah.
But you didn't let yourself be limited. So if you guys are taking some notes, I just want to add a little bit more to that. When you are committed, you guys, there's always a way. When you're not committed, there's always going to be an excuse. Whitney's committed AF. You don't become like, you don't win the title that you want or become the person that you became. And like Whitney, like you are like the most like elite athlete in your sport. Like there's no doubt about it. And the fact that you go back and you repeat it, you're like the Tom Brady of the fitness category in the IFBB Pro, right? Like it doesn't happen by accident, like whatsoever, right? That's because she's so freaking committed, right? And for those of you guys who are listening, how many times the doctors give you physical limitations? The problem in society is that most people choose to accept it. Well, the doctor said I have so-and-so, so I might as well just, what you believe you receive, right? So like Whitney's approach is like, okay, like I understand the facts and what's going on. I'm completely in tune with my body. However, I'm not going to let it stop me from living my life.
Right.
Right. And everybody has that choice to make, right? But the problem is that people are not educated enough, right, to think that they can disagree with other people's opinions, regardless of, you know, if it's like an MD's opinion, right? Like MDs talk facts when it comes to science. They don't talk about the metaphysical, right? And there's so much that goes into it. And then, you know, with regards to the haters, man, haters are the best fuel for your fire. They're the best fuel for your fire. Like when you get a hater, just say thank you. You're still giving me energy. Thank you for like feeding this to me, right? But like, you know, if you ever come across haters and naysayers, know that they're hating, not, that's their own problem, not your own. It becomes your own problem when you choose to accept it.
Right.
Right. But most people will talk shit on you because they have given up on themselves a long time ago, and they're just trying to justify why they're so mediocre. You know what I mean? So Whitney, thank you so much for sharing that. That was amazing. So, okay, this is actually a perfect segue to the next question that I have for you. So, I mean, as you guys can see, just by the way that she's carrying herself, and you know, from every single interaction that I've had with you, like you're just so abundant in like self-acceptance and self-love for who you are. Like it's radiating, like, you know, you're so bold about it, which I love it so much. But was it always this way for you? Did you always have self-love, or was it something that you had to create for yourself?
100% had to create. 100%. I would love to say, oh, everything was just, you know, great. But I think there's always going to be stages in people's lives where they have that self-doubt, or stuff happens in their life, they blame themselves, or, you know, they just kind of get in this position where it's hard to be okay with who you are, be okay and comfortable in your own skin. You know, this sport has helped me to kind of come into who I am now. Being a mother of 2 boys has helped me to come into who I am. Being married and having to go through a crazy divorce and deal with a lot of the heartache with that was something that helped me be who I am. But all of those stages, I feel like every time we're kind of knocked down, that's an opportunity to learn about what we contributed to that experience. You know, again, some things are completely out of our hand, but there's also instances where you have to kind of self-reflect and go, what role did I play in that bad experience? How do I avoid it next time? How do I lift myself up from it? And how do I not let this destroy or define me? So it's been, you know, a process. I'd say literally in the last 15 years was where I kind of had this like, all right, I need to figure out who I am, figure out what my goals are, what drives me. And then, of course, being a mother, I want to raise 2 boys who are very kind, generous, have great manners, have their own self-confidence, their own self-esteem. So you find that good balance of being confident, not cocky, totally kind and generous, but not letting people walk all over you. And that helped me realize I have to set that example. I can't talk the talk if I'm not walking the walk myself, because as a parent, it's not going to fly. They will pick up on that stuff quicker than anybody. But, you know, and that's where I have my clothing line is called Fearless. And the reason that brand came out was because of stages in my life where I was always scared. I was scared to take a risk. I was scared that people may not like the ideas. They may not like me. And I got into this mindset of being like, who gives a shit? You know, honestly, like I get to live once. I don't want to regret. Like, what if? And I spent several years just in this limbo, kind of afraid to take that leap because of, you know, afraid of success, afraid of failure, afraid of perception, whatever it was. And it's like, you're in this state of mind where I'm like, I'm not achieving anything. I'm not progressing towards any of these goals because I'm stuck in this fear. Fear of what? And there's like so many different answers. And so finally at one point I'm like, you know what, screw it. What do I have to fear? Let's just face it head on. And then when you do, you realize it's actually not that scary. All these fears are things that you've created in your head. And if you're strategic, and of course it's like, oh, if you're going to say, I'm going to go jump off that bridge and hope that I make it to the other side, and it's unrealistic, not the smartest. But there's a difference that, like, for me, you have to face your fears because that is power. And when you succeed or you realize that there's really nothing to fear, my boys are still going to love me if I tried to start a business and it failed. My friends are still going to be my friends. Like, these things that are so scary, it's like, try it. Why not? So that's helped me get into this phase of self-love and self-confidence and being comfortable with who I am, because I finally allowed myself to take a ton of risks. And I realized that all those things I was scared of were all things that I created myself. So being able to be fearless has helped me be now who I am, where I can focus on me being the best version of myself, because that helps me be the best coach, the best mother, the best daughter, the best friend. It's helped me be way better to everyone else that I'm around or associated with.
Wow. So I know it's really sunny out, but like there's gold raining down from the sky. Like, this is so much power. You're speaking so much truth. Like, the only way to gain power is to face your fears. And that's why people are just mentally weak. That's why women are walking around, for the most part, not y'all in this group, because you guys are living it, right? And you guys are learning each and every day. And that's why we have those speakers, to really like reinforce what we talk about from their own experience, right? Like, you want to become powerful? Okay, get vulnerable, face your fears, accept it, right? Now, we talked about, the concept of self-love, and then you segued into saying that you had to have self-acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is where the problem begins for a lot of women, and why depression and anxiety is really on the rise. For women and just people in society in general. But do you think that self-love is tied into self-awareness?
Yes, I do. I think too, kind of how I was saying earlier, you have to be realistic about your expectations. You have to be able to take a look at yourself realistically, look in the mirror, and own up to mistakes, negativity, anything that you're parlaying and playing a role in something good or bad. But if you have this wall up where, you have too much pride and you can't ever be aware of the impact you're having, then you're truly not getting back into self-love. It's a big facade. So I think it's hard, especially if you are not in a good spot and you're having a hard time, to really go, okay, well, what am I contributing to this? Because depression is real, especially right now with all this craziness going on. And ultimately, nobody can take you out of a depression ever. Like, you have to be willing to do it. You have to be willing to work at it every single day. You have to be willing to know that you're going to have these highs and lows, and expect the lows, but it's up to you to find a way to pull yourself out, relying on others, whatever. But if you don't have that self-awareness to go, okay, what am I doing to keep myself in this position, get myself out of this position, I don't feel like you'll ever be truly in a spot where you truly can have your own self-love, and then again, put that back on anyone else. So I think they correlate 100%.
I love it. And I agree with you 100%. I was hoping that we will be in agreement with regards to that. I thought we would, but I was like, okay, I'm going to ask her anyways. But that's another reaffirmation. Look, it's like dating someone. Like, yeah, you go out on a first date with them, right? You're like, oh, they look good, they're so hot. But you have to know who they are before you say the L word. Same thing with your own damn self, right? Like, you got to know who you are in order to fall in love with yourself. And I believe that because people are so wrapped up in either procrastination or busyness, right, that they don't know who they are, right? And that's why they struggle to overcome, because they're not even sure why they're doing it. So they're like out of touch and just like walking around like a zombie. Whitney, thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, so when it comes to the mechanics of achieving a goal, right? Normally we talk about 3 elements that are required in order to get there. So we call it the 3 A's, like your attitude, your approach, and your level of action, right? So it's obviously evident that you carry all these 3 A's, right? Your action, the amount of action that you take, your attitude, your character, right? And your approach different from anybody in your industry, okay? So we're gonna get into a little bit more of the professional side now. When it comes to your approach, how is your approach different from other girls in the fitness category of the IFBB Pro?
One thing for me, yeah, that you said it right. Yeah. Okay. Way to go, girl. For me, I'm very different. There's very few of us at the pro level in all divisions who are moms. I'm 42 years old. I'm not this young spring chicken. I may think it mentally, but I'm definitely not. And after a routine practice the next morning, my body reminds me I'm far from super young. But a lot of the girls are younger in our division. Even the girls who are older, they may have chosen not to have kids. So for me, my approach is totally different because number one, I have 2 boys. They are my number 1 priority. So that changes everything for me. I also then am a business owner. I own a few businesses. I have a lot of people who rely on me from my employees, and that is my second priority. So my approach for this sport is there. It's high, but my approach is every day, I know I got to wing it. I have a plan every day, and I know every day it will never go anywhere close to what it's supposed to. But I just know that I have to be flexible. I have to roll with it. I have to make use of the best of my ability with all the crap that's thrown at me each day. And I coach a lot of athletes, several of them in the fitness division who, again, we compete alongside each other, but they have set plans. It's like, today I'm going to do routine practice from 12 to 2. I'm going to do X, I'm going to do Y. Like, they have it all mapped out and their days go according to plan. That's 100% not my lifestyle. I mean, it's never is. So for example, I may have set out 12 to 2. Well, my son left his lunch and then I have to go get this employee, this problem, or deal with this. There goes my 12 to 2. Those were things that came up. I may only have half an hour now to get my routine practice in. So be it. I can't sit and dwell and be like, oh, well, it didn't work out. I got 30 minutes. Make it work. Be efficient. Get something out of that 30 minutes. I am scheduled so tightly because I have to at least have some sort of organization. But my approach always is expect the unexpected and roll with it. Keep a smile on your face. Be positive. And you know what? In some cases, maybe I don't get my workout in. Maybe I didn't get my routine practice. That just means the next day, I need to be dialed in, focused, and efficient and try to move that up on the priority list. You just do the best you can. I feel like so many people, if their day doesn't go as planned, they dwell on it. Or they spend those 30 minutes that they could have done something, bitching and moaning about it. And it's like, why are you wasting your time? You still had 30 minutes. Something is better than nothing. It will always help contribute to making progress versus staying where you're at in that current moment. So my approach is different because I don't have the luxury of the free time and having all this flexibility with my schedule. I have to be flexible with all the crazy stuff that's thrown at me that I had no idea was going to be each and every day.
Oh, I love it. Amazing. Now, when it comes to your level of action, right? Obviously, when people are looking at you, they only see the byproduct, right? They don't see all the work that goes into it, right? Like practicing your routines, doing like either accessory work to prepare you for your routines, obviously like sleep, hydration, nutrition, right? Because that affects your body composition 100%. Can you talk to us a little bit about the compound effect and the work that's actually required in order to look and feel your best as a high performer?
Yes, I'd say the biggest thing is, especially at this level, is it's a year-round sport. Everything you do each day contributes to the end result. Whereas someone maybe new in our sport, or even somebody, if you say your goal is you want to do a sprint triathlon, the first timer, they're going to start, say, 12 weeks, 16 weeks out, and they're going to start training. But it's kind of this rush job. Well, then you like it. Now you realize, okay, this needs to improve my times. I need to work on swimming. I need to increase my times with my bike. There's all these little steps that you want to do to get it to be better. And it becomes this year-round sport. So you look at it as a newbie versus someone who's doing really well in the sport. It's not something that they ever just table. If you're an athlete and you've got this goal, it needs to be something you focus on daily. So for me now, it's my action is that there's something every day I'm doing. Even when it was, the injuries that I've had, I was always competing. The last, 8 years, I've been competing at a high level, and I've experienced ridiculous injuries. But it's like, when I had my neck surgery, I'm in a neck brace. There is literally nothing you can do except sit there like this. And it can be devastating, right? But my action was every day I did something that I could focus on getting back. Because again, to go back to, you could never, when I had my neck injury and my neck surgery, it was a 2-level fusion. I have a 12-piece metal cage in my neck to put me back together. But of course, with that, everyone said, you're done. You'll never be back. My goal was just to be back. I didn't think I would ever, after that, win titles like I have. It was just to be back. It was to get my arm. I lost full function of my right arm. I wanted to be able to hug my boys. I wanted to be able to throw a football and play catch with them. Like, those were the bigger goals. But the fact was, in regards to the sport, I was set on proving to everyone that I could come back. At whatever level of talent I came back, I wanted to get back on the stage. So as I sat there with the neck brace, I couldn't do anything physical, but mentally I could. So each day I set aside some time to focus on picking routine music, learning new skills, and creating this library of skills I wanted to try once I was able to move again. There was basic rehab things I needed to do with my hands. I scheduled that, set alarms on my phone to make sure I didn't miss any steps. So each day there were still action items that I set forth to help me get to my end goal. And for me, that was, I will be a success story. The whole neck surgery, there was nothing I could find on the internet that didn't basically say, give up, die, you're going to be paralyzed, your life is over. Because it was just like doomsday. Like, there's got to be somebody who had a good experience. So I'm like, I will be that person. But in order to do that and to be that person to say, you can have neck surgery and your life's not over, I had to make sure I was doing something daily to get me there. And that was my action. So there always has to be goals that you can literally check mark off and be like, okay, did I search costumes and come up with new skills that I'm making a list of things I want to try? Did I do my PT exercises? There was always something every day that I could do to get towards my goal, no matter what it is. But you have to physically take the time to truly identify what are those action items.
Gosh, get clear on your priorities. I love it. I want to touch up on the concept of the attitude, because you have a badass attitude. We talked about it plenty of times, and I always give you props for it because it's rare. I'm curious, do you do any mindset work that helps to always keep you high energy, fierce, positive?
I do. I feel like, honestly, mindset is everything. It really is. Like when you truly, people will say, I believe I can do this. And I can feel the energy. I'm like, no, you don't. You are lying to yourself and you are lying to me. It's when people believe it and they have it locked in their minds, you know it. They don't even need to verbalize it. So mindset to me is the most powerful. When I go into these competitions, and it's hard, you know, being at the top, there's only one place to go, and that's down. Being at the top, people want to see you get knocked off. They don't cheer for you as much as they do when you're working your way up. So if my mind is not focused in a positive aspect of everything I'm doing, it is so easy to crumble. You look at, there's that documentary coming out with Michael Phelps talking about elite athletes and the pressure, and, you know, once their sport is either at the top or they're at the, you know, retiring, there's this massive depression. Well, to me, that's all mindset driven, and it's presenting and getting yourself set up to achieve what you want, but also you got to protect yourself. That you have this catch-all, I guess, and this safety net for you, because if you are not positive in all aspects, if you're not realistic, if you're not kind to yourself, you're not going to survive. And you know, it's like you can't always win, but if you know that you did everything you could and you're happy with what you did, yeah, it sucks to lose. But if you have a positive mindset, then you can embrace it and be like, that sucked. I didn't win the title or whatever the case is, but I gave it my all. I'm really proud of myself. It's setting yourself up to succeed no matter the outcome. I love audiobooks for me, mindset for me, going into any competition, or even just dealing with stress and life sometimes when you're kind of in a shitty situation. Focusing on stuff that you have control over gets you back into that positive mindset. If you're dwelling on stuff that's out of your control, you're going to spin yourself out. So I love having the mornings to kind of sit on my patio, have my coffee. Sometimes, depending on my mood, that's where I tap into my meme library and I just start laughing, and I start my morning off with laughter. And just really focusing on gratitude and being grateful for where you're at in life, good or bad. If you're in a bad spot, there's lessons to be learned. You got to have some gratitude, knowing I'm going to get out of this. I can't wait to get out of this. But it's just a lot of that self-reflection, self-awareness, being able to get control of your mind, of your actions, of your emotions, so that you can set yourself up each day to be like, I got this. I'm going to be efficient today, productive. Again, it could be simple things. It could be very basic level things, but set yourself up to succeed so that at the end of the day, you can feel accomplished. Whether it was, hey, I got up and I brushed my teeth today. Cool. Guess what? You already have a win. So be realistic, and it's the basic things, no matter, again, if you're in a great place, set your goals high and then achieve it. But just have actionable items that can help you feel good about yourself. Also, for me, if I'm kind of in a, seriously, as stupid as this sounds, just smiling at somebody sometimes changes everything. Asking someone genuinely, how's your day going? Even though you're having a crappy day, if you're asking them and you sit there and genuinely listen, a lot of times just knowing that you helped somebody else easily propels you out of that little funk. And you're like, all right. So it's some of the most basic things that go a long, long way. And it's just discovering what it is that works for you. Those are things that work for me, that people have taught me and shared with me. And I have my little tricks that I pull out of my bag when I'm kind of in that little funk.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Don't you guys love her? Give me a thumbs up if you guys love her. For everybody who has their video on it, hearts, thumbs up. I love it. Oh, you're so good. Okay, well, because you're in the fitness industry, there is something that, you know, I want to bring up, just because that's a reaffirmation for the girls, simply because mainstream media skews people's ideas of what the reality is, right? And in the fitness industry, there are some very common misconceptions, when it comes to like, females' physiques, body composition, and limiting beliefs. There's three main common ones that I'd love for you to touch upon. The first one is the fact that weight loss should be fast and easy.
Yeah, right. Anything that is worth any value in life never comes fast and easy. And if it does, it's rare, and you better recognize that and thank your lucky stars, because most stuff in life never comes easy. And for people that do, I have a lot of clients with a lot of the fad, crazy diets out there, and everyone wants that instant result. And, it's like no one has that patience. Think about it. Anyone who's lost weight or just done something lickety split, it doesn't last. So what is the point of putting all your effort and energy into a goal that you're not going to reap the benefits for? It's like, great, yeah, you look great for a weekend, and then you went back to eating a carb, and boom, your body blew up. You have to make sure that it is like something sustainable. If it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. Common sense. Anything that is easy is not, there's something wrong with it. So weight loss, it takes time. If you want it to actually work and last and maintain, then be willing to be on this for a journey, because that's where the gold is anyways. You're learning stuff about yourself. You're learning stuff about your body. You're pushing yourself beyond limits that you ever thought possible. That's where it becomes something you can maintain. If you're focused on weight loss from exterior, you're missing all the goodness that you are gaining from internally, all the success that you're making.
Oh man, so powerful. Thank you for reaffirming that. And then the second thing is that if you lift weights, you're going to get bulky.
Yes, that is definitely probably the number one thing from women, especially because people look at me and they're like, wow, you look great, but whoa, I do not want to look like you. Great, that's fine. Everyone, you got to look how you want to look. But people don't realize it is very, very difficult. So just like losing weight, trying to put on muscle, there's like science and strategy behind that. You are not going to bulk. People think, lifting weights is going to just bulk you. That is a long-term goal. And if that's your goal, great. But how much you're eating, the way you train, how crazy you lift, the certain lifts you're doing, your body genetics, there's so many things that go into that. But what people don't realize is putting on muscle, you start with that lean muscle. That's what speeds up your metabolism. That's what allows you to have more flexibility with your diet. That's what helps you get tone, because as we age, our skin just kind of droop and gravity takes over. So having the muscle is what allows your body to have shape. If you're just skinny fat with no muscle tone, guarantee you're not going to be happy with your physique. We're women, have curves, have shape. What good is there in being this skinny waif-like model that you look like you're gonna blow away? We're strong, powerful women. Let's represent, have that physique to show it. So, but it is, people think if I lift weights, I'm just gonna look like a man, or I'm gonna look bulky. Good luck. Like, try to work hard for 3 years, and then I think your mindset would flip and you'd realize it's not easy to be bulky.
Oh man, so good. I know it's 7 a.m. Can I get like 5 to 10 more minutes from you?
From me?
Yeah, from you.
Oh yeah,
okay, perfect. Because I know that your time. I know that your time is limited, and I want you to know that we truly respect it. So thank you. Yeah, when both Erin and I were personal trainers at Equinox, a lot of people would walk up to us because we were the most muscular women in the facility, right? And they're like, man, you look good. And then mostly females will always say, like in their first assessment, just so you know, I don't want to look bulky. So
Yeah.
then we would stand up and we're like, okay, what do you think about the way that I look? Looks great. Guess what? I lift as heavy as I can, as often as I can. Like, it is so energetically costly for the body to keep that level of musculature. And people don't realize that it takes years to create and maintain. People think that fat loss is hard. Fat loss is stage one. That's the simple stuff.
Right.
It's the building muscle and maintaining that. Well, maintaining, being lean and building muscle. That's what takes years and years. And people just don't get that. They think, oh, I'm going to bicep curl 5 pounds and I'm going to be bulky. No, your diet is shit and you just have a lot of fat over your muscles. So you look bulky.
Right.
Which might sound harsh, but it's the truth. And you guys in the community, and you accept the truth. So we're all good with that. And then, because you are a mom, I have to touch up on that. Moms accept the fact that having a pooch is something that just happens after you have kids. I mean, look at your freaking physique. We're talking to a mom of 2. Can you tell us from your experience, like, can you just share the truth?
Yeah. There is some genetics, and obviously that plays a role in the skin and how tight. But people all the time, they're like, you had kids? And it's like, yeah, I had 2 boys, and I even had a C-section with the second one. So I get that from a lot of women that said, oh, I can't, I have a C-section, and nope, I've had it too. The thing is, it takes patience, and people want it gone tomorrow. And that has to do with diet. Now, again, depending on how big your stomach got, you could have some stretch marks. You could have some hanging skin. That's just the truth. But a lot of people don't realize how much water you're drinking as you're trying to lose weight plays a crucial role in your skin sucking in and tightening up. When you think about a sponge, like when a sponge is wet, it can get tiny, right? If it's dry and you try to squeeze it, you're not gonna have the same effect. If your body's constantly hydrated as you're trying to lose weight, you're going to give your skin that chance to have that elasticity to pull in tightly. So a lot of people, when it's post-pregnancy, those stages post-pregnancy are really, really important. That's not to say if your child's 4 years old that you can't change it. You absolutely can. And the thing is, it's just interesting of how your body can pull in and tighten, but it just takes time. I wasn't one of these tiny pregnant girls. I mean, I was out here. My belly was big. I have stretch marks just like the normal person. But I've also put in the work to try to pull my stomach in tight and to get it looking as fit as it can, because I'm in a sport where we get in these bikinis on stage to be judged. Now, I've helped plenty of women lose weight post-pregnancy, and that is being up there on stage, literally being judged by your physique is a totally different level. But there's people who look phenomenal, and you would never see a photo of them in a swimsuit. And it's like, wait, what? You have hanging skin? Guess what, girls? There's a lot of ways you can tuck some of that skin in your swimsuits to hide it too. So, if it's something you're self-conscious about, find a swimsuit that's flattering the area where you're not worried about it, you're not thinking about it, you're gonna be on the beach or the pool enjoying yourself, and constantly just work on it. Your stomach is a lot of that nutrition. It's not, people think, I'm gonna do abs and that's gonna no, the stomach is nutrition, nutrition, nutrition. If you're trying to get your flat stomach, but it absolutely is doable. And a lot of people think, oh, I had a baby, I'm just, this midsection, it's game over. And there's nothing further from the truth. There is always, always hope.
Amen to that. Thank you so much for reaffirming that. I'm not a mom yet, but that is my mindset going into it.
Yeah. And you know what? It's such a powerful, beautiful thing. To be a mom is a privilege. Whether you have the stretch marks or not, heck, who cares? Embrace it. Those are things like I'll post videos and photos sometimes of my routines, because on stage, the photographers, they're snapping. There are some horrible photos where my face is like, rah, And I've got my stomach all wrinkled up. I mean, horrible. But guess what? I laugh. I'm like, look at this. This is what a 42-year-old stomach, lady stomach looks like, who's had 2 kids and whatever. We all have imperfections. Embrace it. Laugh about it. You know, I'm proud of my 2 kids. If I had loose skin and stretch marks, so be it. Cool. Those are some amazing representation of what I achieved. So it's just flip your perspective, you know, and be kind to yourself. Nobody's perfect. If they say it, if they try to portray it, they're the ones who have bigger issues.
So much power. I love it. Okay, so because we're talking about, you know, physiques a little bit. So a keystone habit is one like really important habit that obviously trickles down to other habits, right? And has a positive impact on that. Let's say if there was one keystone habit that you were to teach someone who wants to improve their physique, what would it be?
Consistency with eating. Easy. And that, you think about it, kind of going back to a mom, it's all about routine and getting your body working like a machine. So if you have a baby, for anyone out there who's had kids, you know how hard it is to get your baby on a schedule. It's like if your child knows they sleep, when they wake up, they eat, change their diaper, go back to sleep. It's just this cycle, right? Well, when a baby knows that you're going to feed him every 3 hours, they become used to it and they don't cry as often. They know this is the routine. And all of a sudden you have a pleasant baby if things work out well. So your body's kind of the same way. If your body knows you're going to feed it every 3 hours, it doesn't hang on to anything. It's this machine that's constantly burning, because it knows you're not going to starve it. And so it just becomes this finely tuned, skilled machine that's processing all the food, using it as fuel, and keeping you lean. It's when you have this inconsistency of, I just went 6 hours without eating. You put your body in this state of starvation, where then when you eat, it hangs on to everything. So if you can just get your body used to eating, you're going to speed up your metabolism. Your hunger levels are going to be good. Consistency is the biggest thing. Even if you're busy and you're on the go, you want to try and have something in your system. Think about a fire. You constantly have to put wood on the fire to keep it burning. You've got to constantly have food in your system to keep that motor of your body running. So consistency is crucial. And then the other thing, especially for women, you know, our bodies are delicate. So there's certain things that our bodies like more than others. For example, carbs or fats. Take the time to figure out what it is that works best for your body. For me, I can eat a ton of rice, tons and tons and tons of rice. Sweet potatoes, not so much. I'll eat 1 sweet potato and my stomach bloats like crazy. But I could literally eat 6 cups of rice a day and I stay flat. I've learned that because I just kind of did some trial and error things to figure out what works for my body. So for women, figure out those foods that work well. If you cause bloating or cramping or they don't keep you feeling full, find another carb source. Same thing for fats. So find what works for your body to keep you from feeling hungry all the time, that doesn't make you bloat, that makes you energized. Just troubleshoot with foods, but more importantly, make sure you are consistent.
Amen to that. Preach it. I love it. Okay, one last question.
Sure.
So, you know, let's say you're at the hotel in Vegas where Miss Olympia is being held, and somebody walks up to you and asks you, Whitney, if you could give me one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
My number 1 piece of advice is be fearless. Face fear, go after your dreams, have no regret. Fearless, literally, that's what I live by every single day. And no matter what aspects of relationships, being a mom, being an athlete, being a business owner, you got to take risks because you never want to look back and just wonder what if. We have one life. Be fearless. Go after whatever it is that you want, that you're passionate about, that your heart desires, because I guarantee it will be amazing And if it's not, you're going to learn a lesson that will propel you to your next step that you do where you're fearless. And at some point you will achieve success. You will, 100%.
I love it. I love it. This is amazing. Well, speaking of fearless, let's just touch upon your fearless brand. If somebody is like intrigued and wants to go check it out, where can they find your clothing?
That's the website is fearlesswhit.com. So fearless and then WHIT.com.
Perfect. I'm writing it in the chat box right now. You guys go check it out and get yourself some gear. Man, Whitney, it's an honor and a pleasure. And, you know, it truly feels like every single conversation I have with you just keeps getting better and better. I have massive respect for you. You're so unique and authentic. And of course, fearless AF.
Yeah.
and to our fearless group, you guys are all fearless as well. You're hearing these messages just as reaffirmations, right? But it's really good to hear it from other extremely successful people. It's like, oh wow, like this is really the truth that I'm hearing, right? So thank you all for joining us this morning. Thank you, Whitney, for sharing with us.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you guys for tuning in. And I'm seeing the comments. What a fun group. You guys are amazing. This is the coolest. I remembered it last time too, and your fan base and all your little family is that's the best thing, right? That's being part of something where it's like-minded and you help motivate and inspire each other. There's nothing better.
100%. I mean, you know, we tell them that every single day too, that, you know, they're our why, 100%. You know, the Facebook group has grown a lot. So now we do the interviews on Zoom just so that the quality is better and then we can transfer it over to YouTube. So this will be on YouTube. For anybody who wasn't able to check it on live, because Whitney, this conversation was fire and it needs to be evergreen. So it now is. That being said, Whitney, thank you so much for giving us some of your precious time from this morning. And thank you guys for joining us. Let's give Whitney a big heart to show her how we love on in this group. Sergeant wanted to come and say hi. You guys are amazing. Whitney, you're amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. You guys have an amazing weekend. Everyone out there, be safe. Try to stay cool and enjoy your weekend.
And you as well, honey. Take care, you guys. Happy Friday.
Bye, guys.
Ciao.